Hello there, this is the Shadow Ranger. Um, gonna answer a question that I got in this video, and then I'm gonna give my predictions for the Genesis pay-per-view. I don't think I've done a prediction video in a little while, so I'm gonna do one for this pay-per-view. First, something I want to talk about, and just because I think I might get asked about this a couple more times, I figure I should just talk about it, even though I really don't like talking about it. Past couple weeks I've been doing the Royal Rumble live commentary videos, and I've gotten good feedback on them. Most people seem to keep asking me for more. Look, here's the thing, and I mentioned this to one person, and I'm just going to go ahead and mention it to everybody just so it doesn't happen again. I'm not going to do a commentary on 2004 Rumble, 2005 Rumble, and probably not 2006 Rumble. So don't ask about those. Reason being, those Rumbles, especially 04 and 05, contain a lot of Chris Benoit, and I don't like to talk about Chris Benoit. I don't like to think about Chris Benoit. I've never really done a video about that whole situation from a few years ago just because I don't like talking about it. Benoit was one of my all-time favorite wrestlers, and I don't have to get into the details. Everybody knows what happened, and I just don't like to even think about it. I don't like to think about him or talk about him. So I just want everybody to know I'm not going to do commentary on those particular Rumbles because he's in those particular Rumbles for a lot of time, especially 04. So please just don't ask me about doing commentary on the Rumbles for those years. I'm not going to. Alright? And actually, if I continue doing any type of commentary on any other classic events, I don't want to talk about anything that has to do with Benoit. So in any types of talking and requests, just don't bring him up to me. So I'm just going to say that there. Alright. Anyway, let's get back to something more positive here. BlackRock 316 sent me a question. It says WWE interested in TNA wrestlers. He said, I was reading online that WWE is interested in bringing back RVD when his contract is up. I did remember a while back that RVD himself said that he would like to return to WWE. At one point they were interested in bringing him to Poe, but I don't see what's the point of bringing him in when he's really not doing anything interesting right now. Matt Morgan's name was also mentioned, but he is staying with TNA. I think what surprised a lot of people is that they weren't interested in bringing in Samoa Joe. Why do you think WWE is not interested in Samoa Joe? And if you're a Vince McMahon, would you bring Samoa Joe into the WWE? Alright, let's see here. Let me bring up that article. I read that article too. Let me find that list of guys, and I'll go through the list one by one. Let's see here. I know I had it somewhere. Let's see. Bring up Superstars page for WWE because I'm going to talk about that in a minute too. Okay, here we go. Okay. So yeah, I had read this article. It was from the PW Torch. They don't have a great reputation as far as getting out news, so I don't know if this is true or not, but I'll take it at face value and talk about each one on the list, and I'll talk about what I have to say about each one. Alright. Beer Money says last year WWE had interest in bringing them as a tag team, not as individuals. Would be interesting. Beer Money, great tag team, but much like TNA right now, tag team wrestling is pretty much dead in WWE. I think they're both great, talented guys. Roode and Storm are two of my favorite guys right now. I think that TNA has split up Beer Money. I think it was time. Beer Money has done all they really can do as a tag team. It really is going to another company. It's about new matchups, new competition, and there's not really anybody that I want to see them face in WWE as a team. I look at the WWE roster. I don't see anybody on that roster that I want to see face Beer Money. Nothing interests me. Beer Money versus the Usos doesn't interest me. Beer Money versus, well, this was last year, so who'd you have last year? Hart Dynasty. That doesn't sound interesting. You know, back in 2009, Beer Money versus Jericho probably would have been cool, but that's about it. So I think if Beer Money went to WWE last year, they'd get lost in the shuffle. I think if they went there now, they would get lost in the shuffle. WWE is in the same boat as TNA. Huge roster. I mean, now it's not as bad with WWE because they got 6 hours of television a week, but they have a very huge roster. A lot of guys aren't getting used, and really neither WWE or TNA has a really good tag team division now. So I don't have a whole lot of interest in any particular tag teams jumping ship. Love tag team wrestling, which will come back. Wish one of those companies would bring it back pretty good so I can enjoy it again. But also, Beer Money were guys that were made by TNA. And guys that get made in TNA don't get treated very well in WWE. Now, there was a guy who was in WWE first and then went to TNA and comes back. They get treated pretty good. You know, R-Truth was in WWE first as K-Quick, went to TNA, came back. He got treated good. Christian went to TNA, came back. He got treated good. Gail Kim was in WWE, went to TNA, came back, but got treated like crap and then left again. So that's a bad example. But the guys that were the guys who got their national exposure in TNA first have not fared very well in WWE. You know, Monty Brown, Chris Harris, Lance Hoyt, Consequences of Creed. Consequences of Creed has been in developmental for what? I think three years now, since 2009. I think I read about him getting signed to a developmental deal in 2009. He's still there, so he's been there a good 2 years. Who else am I forgetting? If you're in TNA first, you don't get treated very well in WWE for whatever reason. So I think we would be very disappointed in Beer Money in WWE. Rob Van Dam. I don't give a crap about Rob Van Dam. I don't like seeing him in TNA. If he went to WWE, fine. Good to see him go. I'd rather have him in WWE than in TNA because I doubt I'd watch his segments there either. So that just free up. He's gone. That frees up screen time for somebody else in TNA that I like to see more. Maybe they could actually have somebody doing something with the television title and do something with that belt. And I'm gonna talk about that in a minute when I get to the Pope. So maybe Gunner will fucking take him out on the pay-per-view tomorrow. So RVD, as soon as he's gone from TNA, the better, in my opinion. Matt Morgan. Matt Morgan said that he opted to stay loyal to TNA after being in contact with WWE in 2011. My guess is Matt Morgan feels that he's been treated better by TNA. I think that'd be kind of hard to argue. I mean, how many of you actually can remember Matt Morgan in WWE? I remember he stuttered, and that was it. Like, I can't remember a single feud. I think he was part of a Survivor Series team once that went against John Cena's team. I can't remember if he was on Cena's teams or against it. I mean, he's done anything that Matt Morgan has done that's entertaining or interesting has been done in TNA. They've treated him a whole lot better, so I don't see why he would go back. Really, what do you think? What is there for Matt Morgan to do in WWE? You know, I asked this question when people talk about people coming to TNA. You know, I said about John Morrison, I've said about other guys, and the same applies to WWE. Okay, he goes to WWE. I asked the same question: to do what? What program? What feud can you see that's interesting for him to WWE? I mean, I got the WWE roster page open right now. I'm looking at the page now. Who do you see in the WWE that you look at and say, I would like to see Matt Morgan feud with this guy? That you would enjoy seeing 3, 4, 5 matches between Matt Morgan and this guy. Who on this roster is an interesting matchup for him? I mean, you can get your obligatory giant match with Big Show and Kane, but is that something that's going to hold your attention. Is that something that, okay, who can Matt Morgan face in the WWE that's gonna make you want to tune in every week and see this feud continue? Not a whole lot of people. I'm looking at the WWE roster page right now. I don't see anybody that I like. Yeah, I'd like to see Matt Morgan feud with blank. If you got somebody, let me know. Again, I think he just get lost in the shuffle. The thing is, WWE and TNA were both very crowded rosters, so there's not a whole lot of room for new people on either roster. Bully Ray. TNA did what WWE couldn't. Split up the Dudleys and make one of them interesting. Even WWE wouldn't able to do that, but TNA figured out a way to do it. Split up the Dudleys and make one of them interesting. Bully Ray's been fantastic since they split up. Bully Ray is a great character. He's done some fantastic stuff. I think there's more for him to do in TNA. Who can he do that character with? You put him in WWE, no one's gonna put a belt on the guy. He's not gonna make him world champion. TNA's not gonna make him world champion. They might put him in a world title match, but he's not winning that belt. I don't see them putting any titles on Bully Ray. He might have to get the television title for a short time, but that's it. Same thing. Who is there for Bully Ray to bully in the WWE? I mean, TNA has people that he can push around, do stuff with, but there's no one for him to bully. So again, you put him in WWE, there's nobody for his gimmick to work off of. Inc. says WWE may have some interest in bringing back Shannon Moore, but Jesse Neal's view of developmental prospect at best. Honestly, separately, I have no interest in either guy. I have no interest in seeing Shannon Moore in TNA anymore. I like the tag team, but the individual guys do nothing for me. I have no interest in seeing Shannon Moore. I have no interest in seeing Jesse Neal, but I really enjoyed Inc. So together, I like them. Separately, they really mean nothing to me. I could care less about them. Jesse's gone. I honestly think if Jesse's not coming back, TNA should release Shannon Moore. I honestly don't see anything that Shannon Moore can do as a singles wrestler in TNA that's going to interest me. I mean, I'm just one person. Maybe somebody else does have stuff that they like to see. I'm just speaking for myself. Nothing either guy does separately interests me. I can't think of a single feud or a single match that I want to see either of those guys in separately. I enjoyed the team. I thought the team worked. I liked the team. The team had potential. I hope the team comes back. Jesse Neal basically said in an interview he did, it was really just a money issue for why he left. So he said he left on very good terms, and he said he and Dixie Carter had a talk the day he left. He said they hope to see him, that they want to have him back. So it was strictly a money issue, that they could pay him what he felt he needed for what they wanted him to do. When the time comes that they can come together on money, Jesse will come back. Maybe Shannon will still be there, and Inc. back together. Till then, I could care less about either guy. As far as WWE, I see no use for them there. If WWE is going to get them both, yeah. I only have interest in either of these guys going to TD if they are both there as a team. If WWE wants to bring in Inc., okay, send Jesse to developmental for a little bit, for however he needs to, and bring him up. I don't know how long that'll take, but Inc. in the WWE, sure, I like that. I mean, they're an up and coming team. You can put them in there with the Usos. You can put them there with Epico and Primo. If you want to try to get some more teams together, yeah, sure. But the reason, and somebody might be wondering this, but the reason I'd like to see Inc. as a team in WWE and not Beer Money is that Beer Money has run its course. Honestly, you look at the tag teams in WWE. What team on the WWE roster is believable that they can beat Beer Money? There's no team in WWE that's believable to me that you can make believe that team can beat Beer Money. Air Boom, Beer Money would destroy Air Boom. It's not believable to me. It's not believable for Air Boom to beat Beer Money. I just don't buy it. ink in there with some of the WWE teams, yeah, that I buy. Samoa Joe. This seems to be the big one everybody's talking about. Said WWE didn't have interest in Joe. Nobody in WWE ever said that they were interested in Joe. Everybody took a tweet too far. One person that's not even part of WWE management, that really isn't really part of the roster anymore, made a tweet about Joe. That was Stone Cold Steve Austin. Stone Cold Steve Austin, a few months back, made a tweet. I think it was in July. I think July or August. It was late July or early August when it happened, saying that he thinks Samoa Joe is a great wrestler and that he thinks WWE should hire him and give him a great big push. That was one guy. And don't get me wrong, I'm not downplaying it. Yeah, getting an endorsement from Stone Cold Steve Austin, I mean, that's big. I would tout that. You know, Stone Cold Steve Austin says you should be in the WWE and they should push you all the way. But but Stone Cold isn't part of management. He doesn't make decisions in WWE. I'm sure he's a good, him and Vince McMahon are probably close, and his opinion is probably valued to him. And maybe WWE would give a look at a guy that they hadn't given a look to. If Stone Cold Steve Austin called up Vince McMahon and says, "Look, Vince, I was at a local show. I saw this guy, this kid. He's got a lot of potential. I really think you should get a look at him." I think that guy would at least get a tryout match. I think Stone Cold saying you have potential is enough that WWE would say, "All right, cool, Steve. I'll give him a tryout. Tell him find the kid. Tell him to be here this day. We'll give him a look." But you gotta ask yourself, did Stone Cold just say that on Twitter, or did he actually say that to Vince McMahon? Because I don't believe Stone Cold actually said that to Vince McMahon. I think if Stone Cold Steve Austin called up Vince McMahon and said, "Vince, this Samoa Joe guy they got TNA, I think this guy is awesome. I think you should give him a shot when his contract runs out in TNA, and I think he could make you some good money." If Stone Cold Steve Austin said that to Vince McMahon, Vince would definitely give Samoa Joe a tryout. But says, according to this report, they don't have interest. Not surprising. Again, I bring it back to the same question. Samoa Joe in WWE to do what? Where does he fit? Where do you put him in a feud that's believable to the WWE audience? And that's stuff you could do that's believable to the IWC, but it's not about the IWC. It's about the WWE universe. That ain't the same thing. The little kids and the soccer moms got to be into it. Where do you put John Cena that the WWE crowd is gonna want to see him more? Because they're not gonna put him in there and have him be the monster that's destroying people like that. They're not gonna have him do that. Shitty faction with the Usos off the Samoan thing, maybe. But honestly, let me give this a look. Let me look at the W roster, give us a real look. Who Samoa Joe versus blank is a match I'd like to see. Let's see here. Big Show, Brodus Clay if he ever debuts. Swagger. Joe versus Cena could be fun. Mark Henry. I can get into that. Sheamus. Wade Barrett. Undertaker. There you go. Those are Samoa Joe matches in WWE that I'd actually be interested in seeing. But again, crowded roster, they don't need him. WWE doesn't need Samoa Joe. And considering how he's been treated in TNA the past year or two, they don't really need him either. I've always liked Samoa Joe, but I never thought he was as special as the IWC makes him out to be. If he left TNA today, I really wouldn't miss him. I mean, I like to see him get back toward the main event, and that's fine and all. But I like I like him, but I never thought he was as great as the IWC makes him out to be. So, Pope. Elijah Burke kind of lost in the shuffle in TNA. Yeah, Pope is a guy that is horribly misused by TNA. He was horribly misused by WWE, really. He's a guy who has fantastic mic work. And honestly, I came to a realization about, I think it was earlier this week or maybe late last week, that the Pope is a new generation Ric Flair. His style, his manner of speaking, the promos he cuts. I mean, if you're talking about a protege for Ric Flair, the Pope would be your guy. I mean, they put AJ with Ric Flair, and that was awful. But the Pope with Ric Flair, I think, would have been great. And actually, he don't even need Flair. He could just be a gimmick like that. I mean, I would call him like Black Flair. I think that's totally like a name that he could be that. He could be that. I mean, you don't make that his actual ring name, but I'm just saying that to explain what I'm talking about. His look, his mannerisms, his promo cutting. If you ever wanted a guy that could be like Flair, the Pope is that guy. And there's so much more he could be doing. Instead of this dumb feud with Devon that no one cares about, he could be making that TV title important again. Because you put that belt on him and Anderson, and that Anderson and him feud over that for a while, you weave Gunner into that for a little bit, you got something special there. Here's what you do. And, well, this is kind of fantasy booking, so I got to give my disclaimer. I haven't done any fantasy booking stuff in a while. I haven't had to give my disclaimer. I mean, I have ideas of stuff I want to do, but I haven't thought of a new name for just a fantasy booking series ever since I ended the After Immortal video. I still got the title slide that I never need to use, but hold on a second here. Alright, here we go. Alright, so this is going to be a little bit of fancy book. I need to give my disclaimer, and I'm not even make it to the predictions. This video is going longer than I thought. Well, I guess it's going to be a long one then. Anyway, disclaimer. I am in no way saying that I can write or book wrestling better than the writers or bookers of any wrestling organization. These opinions are mine and mine alone, and only represent something that I would personally find entertaining. Alright, here's what you do. Anderson's been off TV for about a month and a half, maybe 2 months now. You bring him back, you put him on TV, you have him do a backstage promo with JB. He says something to the effect of, Anderson, you've been away for a while, but this is your first time seeing you on Impact in 2012. What do you have to say about how did you celebrate the new year, and what are your goals for 2012? And Anderson says, 2011 was a weird year for me, a lot of ups and downs, concussions, won a world title, lost a world title, won a world title, lost a world title. Had to deal with Sting and Immortal and Hogan and Dixie, and but it's a new year. I want a fresh start, so I'm putting all that 2011 crap behind me. Now for this year, I'm getting back to basics, just me and my assholes in the ring, winning matches, winning championships. And I got my eyes set on the television championship. So, Robbie E, Jersey Boy, putting you on notice, I'm coming for you. You do a short program with them for like a month or two, have Anderson win that belt. What do you do with Robbie E? I think Robbie E should form a tag team with Zema Ion. I think that could be a fun team, new tag team to have around. Have them screw Morgan and Crimson out the belts. When the Machine Guns come back, they can do that feud. But I'll talk more about that later date. Maybe. Anyway, you got that belt on Anderson as the face. You feud him with Pope since they turned Pope heel in this whole dumb Devon shit. You put Pope out there as the heel. Let Anderson and Pope feud over the belt. I mean, you got Anderson and the Pope feuding. Just the last time I think they had a one-on-one match was in 2010 at Against All Odds. It was the end of that the finals of the 8-card stud tournament, which was a very good match. And the promos you'd get from those two guys would just be fantastic. Let the Pope be the heel and Anderson, and I can't even begin to do an Anderson voice, but Pope there, Anderson, daddy, Kenny Anderson, you got something that the Pope wants, and that's the world television title, daddy. See, Pope is gonna have to just powder up his pimp hand and slap the taste out your mouth, Kenny Anderson, and take that title and put it around the Pope's golden waist. That's the best I can do as Pope. I can't do a good Pope impression. But I notice whenever the Pope talk, I fake old Ric Flair promos. Watch old Ric Flair NWA promos and tell me that you can't see how easily the Pope could pull promos off like that. I think he could easily do it. Let those two dudes feud for a while over that belt, bring that some prestige back to that title, make people care about it. Then you start transitioning other people in and, doing some other feuds. Pope to WWE. Again, I think he get lost in the shuffle. I don't think they're going to treat him like a big deal. It's just the people on this roster is just so many of them. I think we just get lost in the shuffle, really. But more Pope could be doing in TNA, and I hope they get done. They get to doing something with him this year. And the last one on this list is Angelina Love. Apparently, Angelina Love has heat in the WWE women's locker room. How? I don't know why. Maybe she's done something or said something. I mean, she was never in the WWE women's locker room. She was in, I think, OVW for a while and never got. I don't think she ever got called up to the main roster, so that's kind of odd. Angelina Love in the Divas division. Here's the thing. Because TNA only has one show a week, television time is limited. And for the women, that gives them a very paradox. Well, paradox is the wrong word. Sorry. I can't think of the right word, but tough choice. I'll just say that. You can be on TV with the Divas. You're on TV every week. You make good money, but you do nothing. Nothing that the Divas do is meaningful. Nothing means anything. They're on TV for like 3-minute matches that nobody cares about. Your other options being TNA, where because they're so TV time is so limited, you're gonna go for you might go 2 to 3 months without any TV time. But when you are on TV, it's always something entertaining. It's something good. It's something meaningful. When Angelina is on TV, they always have her doing something that's meaningful. They have her doing a good match. You get plenty of TV time. You get to showcase yourself, cut promos, and show a character and actually wrestle. So that's kind of what she has to choose between. She could be on TV every week in WWE doing meaningless 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute matches that mean nothing, or she could be in TNA where she's only on TV every when they have a storyline for. Really, you only on TV in TNA when they have a storyline for you. When creative has nothing for you, you're not on TV. But when she is on TV, it's always something good, entertaining, and meaningful. Angelina is a diva. There's nothing I can come up with that I'd be interested in. Again, same thing. To do what? What diva do you want to see wrestle Angelina Love? Look, it's just Angelina. They ain't say anything about Velvet. Bring them in together. I mean, and Michelle McCool retired. So outside of having Velvet and Angelina versus Lay Cool, no one's gonna care. Because that's really all anyone was want to see. Beautiful people versus Lay Cool. But they didn't say nothing in this article says anything about them bringing in Velvet Sky, which is surprising. I think you'd want Velvet Sky more than Angelina. And Michelle McCool's retired, so there's no Lay Cool. Alright. Had to pause there for a minute. Yeah. Let me see. To get back to Black Rock 316's questions. Not surprised they're interested in Samoa Joe. Nah, I wouldn't really bring him in. Not a whole lot. Couple matches I want to see, but right now there's nothing I see on WWE TV that makes me think, man, I wish Samoa Joe was here. So I'll just leave it at that. Alright. Let me go ahead and that's all I'm going to say on this topic. So let me go ahead and get to my Genesis predictions here. Alright, TNA Genesis. Start at the bottom, work my way up. Pope versus Devon. Pope will win and no one will care. Moving on. Rob Van Dam versus Gunner. It's a Rob Van Dam match again. I don't really care. I hope Gunner takes him out and I don't have to see him anymore. Alright, matches I actually care about. Bully Ray versus Abyss in Monsters Ball. Been a while since we got a Monsters Ball match. Stipulation is that if Abyss loses, he says he will rejoin Immortal if he loses. A lot of people are bashing this because they're saying that Abyss doesn't get anything if he wins. He's getting what he wants. What he wants is to beat the shit out of Bully Ray. That's what he gets. To beat the crap out of Bully Ray. I don't get it. But, I don't see a reason for Bully Ray to win. Okay, so Abyss has to rejoin Immortal. I don't know what I would want to see do with it. Abyss is kind of lost in the shuffle. I'll pick Abyss to win. He can move on to something else. Knockouts title, Gail Kim versus Mickie James. Their last pay-per-view match was really good. Their main event match on Impact was really good. I expect this match to be very good as well. But Gail Kim, I don't know why they would put the belt on Mickie again right now unless they're planning something non-title related feud for Gail Kim. But I don't see a reason for Mickie to have this belt, so I'm going to pick Gail Kim to retain, and hopefully she can move on to a new challenger. But their last two matches was really good, and I expect this one to be good too. X Division title match, Austin Aries versus Kid Kat versus Jesse Swenson versus Zema Ion. 1 face and 3 heels. I can't see either of the other 3 taking the belt. I don't see any reason to put it on Kid Cash. I think it's too soon for Sorensen and Ion. So Austin Aries will retain. Hopefully Alex Shelley can come back and feud with him for a little while over the title next. Tag team title, Samoa Joe and Magnus versus Matt Morgan and Crimson. Joe and Magnus won this short wild card tournament. A lot of people seem to really be high on the team. I personally am not. They're not a bad team. It's just these two as a tag team just doesn't really do it for me. But I don't see them winning the belt, so I'll say Matt Morgan and Crimson retain. Kurt Angle versus James Storm. The last match was really good. I expect the same for this one. Say James Storm wins and he can move on to Bobby Roode now. I'm hearing rumor that next pay-per-view is going to be like a 3-way Storm, Roode, and Hardy for the belt. So, yeah, he wins here. Move on for that. Pick James Storm to win. And world title, Bobby Roode versus Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy in the main event of a pay-per-view. We all remember what happened the last time he was in the main event of a pay-per-view. Let's hope it doesn't happen again, and if something does go wrong, hopefully TNA has a backup plan. You know, I say James Storm beats Kurt Angle, and then he, for some reason, if Jeff Hardy is unable to compete, you say somebody attacked James Storm Jeff Hardy backstage. Robert Roode comes out all cocky. Jeff Hardy never comes out. He's like, I'll put the title up against anybody. James Storm comes out. You have impromptu James Storm versus Bobby Roode for the world title. And with James Storm having already wrestled Kurt Angle, that gives Bobby Roode a heel way to win. His opponent was already tired from a previous match, and the previous match was at Kurt Angle, so you know he worn out. In the event that everything does go right, I expect the match to be pretty fun, but I can't see Jeff Hardy winning. I think a lot of people will be very... Here's the thing. Another thing I recently noticed, I really realized, people only seem to care about TNA when TNA does something they don't like. The thing is, if Bobby Roode wins, no one will care. But if Jeff Hardy wins, everybody will bitch. You know, somebody made a very good point. David Hero from Pro Wrestling Report, he was talking about this topic. He said, you know, he was getting emails from listeners to the show saying, how come they don't talk about TNA more? It's like, look, we like TNA, but nobody ever calls them wanting to talk about it. He said, he made a very good point. He said, after Bound for Glory, everybody complained that Robert Roode wasn't the champion. Now he is the champion, and nobody calls into our show to talk about the fact that he's the champion. And I listen to lots of different wrestling radio shows, and nobody ever talks about him. And I go to a lot of the wrestling websites, and except for like the TNA only sites, nobody talks about him. The fact is, TNA gave people what they wanted, and nobody cares. Nobody cares that Robert Roode is the champion. But if he loses the title to Jeff Hardy, everybody will suddenly care and bash TNA. People only seem to care about TNA, the IWC does at least, when TNA does something that they don't like. So it wouldn't surprise me if they put the belt on Jeff Hardy, just to get people talking. The fact is, if Bobby Roode wins this match, nobody will care. You can tune in to all the wrestling radio shows that you listen to, and they'll do the pay-per-view review. They'll review the pay-per-view because they always do, but none of the listeners or the callers will call in wanting to talk about. Nobody will call in and say, I'm glad. You will not hear a single person on any show call in to a wrestling radio show this week and say, I'm glad Bobby Roode won. If Jeff Hardy wins the belt, there will be nothing but hate. Every show, every radio show will have a 20-minute segment on how bad it is that Jeff Hardy won the belt. If Bobby Roode wins, nobody will care. And that's the sad state that TNA is in right now. People only care when they do something bad. I too think it would be a bad idea to put the belt on Jeff Hardy, but putting it on Bobby Roode, again, nobody will care. Everybody complained when he didn't win it Bound for Glory. Now he is the champion. No one will care. It's just like Destination X. Everybody complains so long that TNA doesn't put enough focus on the X Division. Now TNA needs to rebuild the X Division. And they fucking rebuilt the X Division. And they rebuilt it by bringing in X Division wrestlers from the past, X Division wrestlers of the present, new X Division stars for the future, and had an all X Division pay-per-view that they built up perfectly to it for a month. And the next day, I listened to all the wrestling radio shows, and everybody was talking about John Cena versus CM Punk. The upcoming John Cena versus CM Punk match. Nobody cared about Destination X. No one cared. Got the X Division back now. Austin Aries is a great champion. Plenty of challengers. X Division is getting showcased on every episode of Impact. No one cares. You take them off, everybody complains. And that's kind of depressing. This pay-per-view could be an awesome pay-per-view. Every match on this card could be 4-star match. Tomorrow, everybody will be talking about John Cena versus Kane and Chris Jericho. That's if the pay-per-view is great. If this pay-per-view is amazing, every match is fantastic, nobody will care. If it sucks, everyone will talk about it for every show will talk about it for 20 straight minutes of how bad it was. So what do? That's what makes me think Jeff Hardy's going to get this belt. It's the only thing that will make anybody care. And I put the question out to the rest of you. Will you be upset if Jeff Hardy wins this belt? And can you honestly tell me that you will care if Robert Roode wins and retains it? I don't think anybody will. I will, because I'm more of a TNA fan than any other wrestling product. But the rest of the wrestling community, especially the IWC, I don't see anybody caring. But I've talked long enough. This video is almost 40 minutes. Didn't expect it to go that long. But I got off on a couple of tangents and just some things I need to get off my chest. While I'm here, might as well get one more thing off. Ring of Honor, I haven't even talked about it because I just don't care. I found the show to be very boring. You know, I said that when they started their new show in September, I would give it a chance and watch it for 2 months straight, and I did, and it was a chore to do. And I said I'd make a video talking about my thoughts on the product, and I just didn't care to do it. I have no interest. The product, I know a lot of IWC loves Ring of Honor. It ain't my thing, man. I watched that show for over 2 months, and it was a chore to watch. It bores me. The wrestling's great, and you know the wrestling is really good. Well, I'm not gonna even say it's really good. It's very athletic. You know, the guys in Ring of Honor are very athletic. They can do a lot of great looking moves, but the stories bore me. The promos bore me. The characters bore me. Really, 2 people. Well, 3, I guess. 1 person and 1 tag team that interests me. And all of this stuff I've watched, I even checked out their pay-per-view. 1 tag team interests me, and 1 singles wrestler interests me. They're like the only ones on the show that I would actually be interested in seeing. The 1 tag team is the Briscoes. I like that redneck gimmick. I know people like that. I'm from southern Mississippi. It appeals to me because I grew up around people like that. So there's some appeal there. The 1 singles wrestler that I find actually interesting and entertaining, that I actually like to see, actually would like to watch, is Mike Bennett. I think his look is really good. I think his character is really good. I think he plays a great cocky heel. I watched him at on their last pay-per-view when he brought out Maria, and the fans were chanting CM Punk. He just healed it up and just gave her a big sloppy kiss, and she had on her sexy outfit that said Prodigy Girlfriend, and he was talking smack to the ground, talking about, I'm going home tonight with a Playboy cover girl, and you're all going home and jacking off tonight. And he was great. I think that guy's fantastic. Honestly, and again, Ring of Honor fans who hear this are going to get really mad, but I think he's too good for Ring of Honor. He should be in WWE or TNA. I think the dude is great at what he does. Again, WWE and TNA's rosters are both very crowded, so he'd get lost in the shuffle, but I guess that's probably his only redeeming quality, him being on Ring of Honor. The roster's smaller, so he gets more airtime. But yeah, Mike Bennett and the Briscoes, the only people on this show that interest me at all. I don't like Mike Bennett's manager, though, Bob Evans. I don't get it. I mean, I understand the character, but it doesn't really fit Mike Bennett to have that guy as his manager. So, but other than Mike Bennett and the Briscoes, nothing else about this show interests me. There's nothing that makes me want to continue watching. And those guys alone aren't enough to keep me tuning in. I haven't watched it in the past 3 weeks, and I have no intention of watching it much anymore. I'll probably follow what those 3 people do and check it out when I read about them doing something interesting that I like. But other than that, the Ring of Honor product doesn't do anything for me, and I have no desire to continue watching it. Again, Briscoes, Mike Bennett, like those guys. That's it. Alright, so I've been talking for 43 minutes, which is about 33 minutes longer than I thought I would be. So, yeah. BlackRock 316, thank you for sending me a question. That was a good question. I didn't think I'd get that much talk out of it, but you know, gave me some good conversation to talk about. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video up right here. Anyone else has a question or a topic you'd like me to talk about in the video, go ahead and send me a message. This is the Shadow Ranger. Thank you for listening. If you like my videos, please subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at TJSMITH3, and have a nice day.